So we've talked about Warlock builds and their exotic class items, and now we're going to be talking about Titans and their exotic class items with Prismatic. Now, Titans are pretty good with their class items because they kind of take over all the main Titan roles, at least for PvE. In PvP, you're probably still going to be using Peacekeepers or Dune Marchers or something of the sort. But for now, and obviously don't forget about Curess of the Falling Star for PvE if you're going to run Thunder Crash. But we're going to be focusing on the exotic Titan marks instead of just the other exotic armor pieces, as Worm Gods got nerfed, and we don't need to talk about Thunder Crash as it's still wildly terrible for damage. Um, so the first build I want to talk to you about is one that uses Abeyant Leaves and Armamentarium on the exotic class item. Now this build is just Suspend Glory. You get 2 Shackle Grenades, which is just throw them everywhere. You're going to get really good regen on that. And you can pair that with Drenger's Lash, which means when you activate your Barricade, you're going to get 3 tracking Suspend lines that track everything they hit. In terms of a super, it really doesn't matter what you pick. If I was going to say this build for like GMs, maybe I would say either Twilight Arsenal or Blade Fury. Blade Fury literally just for more suspend, or Twilight Arsenal if you need to do any big boss damage toward like an end of a GM. In terms of fragments, we are talking about the main ones you need are Protection and Courage, as if you can get Courage to proc, if you like throw a Shackle Grenade at the boss, then if other teammates have Courage on as well, you can help them out with Facet of Courage, as applying a Darkness debuff will help them. Obviously Facet of Blessing to get your health back, sorry, not to get your health back, but to start health regeneration. And then I've got Facet of Justice on to help my Transcendent ability kills just do that much more damage to ads in the area, and then Facet of Hope to get my class ability back more easily, which directly pairs into Drenger's Lash. Now I'm pairing this with Knockout to get health back on a melee, which pairs with Facet of Blessing. However, you could very much pair this with Consecration as well, and then pair Facet of Blessing with Consecration, and then just slay out, get a bunch of kills, get your health back. It's very tight as the combo. The melee you definitely want to be using though is Frenzied Blade, as you get 3 stacks of a melee charge, and if you do pair this with Consecration, you will get 3 Consecrations, and that you can just chain together. In terms of the armor, it doesn't really matter. You pair it to whatever you're doing. So if you're using like a Galahorn, you might want to use 2 Surges and a Scavenger in terms of solar, and some reserves that match whatever you're using in your heavy slot. So if I was running Galahorn, I'd run triple Surges, reserves. Sorry, tripping over my words there. But yeah, triple reserves, as Galahorn works with triple reserves. On your arms, you're gonna want heavy-handed, at least 2 stacks of heavy-handed, as your powered melee final blows are going to generate orbs. This also works with Consecration, it's very good. However, you could also pair this with Bolstering Detonation, as dealing damage as you suspend targets will give you your class ability energy back, feeding into that cycle where you just constantly get your grenades and class ability back, and you just pair suspends everywhere. On your helmet, I'd definitely recommend running at least 1 Finder, depending on what you're running, and then maybe a Siphon that matches whatever you're getting kills with, maybe a Scout if you're going to be helping your team out, but if you just take off the Scout, you can just switch this to a 3 Siphon, so whatever you need to help your team generate orbs with, you can just do that. That's really the first build. The mods aren't really dependent except from what's on the arms, which is Bolstering Detonation or Heavy-Handed, one of the two. Personally, I like Bolstering Detonation more, but I also like Fastball, So keeping a stack of fastball on just to get the extra throw distance with shackle grenades, very good. Makes your grenades much more consistent when you throw them. Obviously, stat-wise, use whatever mods you need to use at your discretion. Remember, in terms of that though, exotic class items can be upgraded to Artifice Armor using Glimmer and an Exotic Cipher, so if you need that +3 anywhere, then I would definitely recommend doing that. In terms of the second build that we're going to be showing off, do I have it saved? I do not. It is... where is it? It is Assassin's Cowl and Synthoceps on the Bond. Now this really helps just going in and meleeing a bunch of stuff. So this switches to fastball, where is it? Heavy-handed. Fastball not terribly needed for this build, as this build is all about melee damage. I'd definitely pair this with a 1-2 punch shotgun to do extra melee damage, but Frenzy Blade still, maybe Knockout or Consecration. They're both very good. Knockout just gives you that health back. It's just really good for giving health back. And then grenade, maybe you don't want to run shackle grenades. I still think they're a great option. To be fair with you, if you ran something like pulse grenades and then paired knockout with consecrations, that's also extremely good. So a build that could look like this, and then the pulse grenade is going to help you get your light energy back. Your melee, which is what you're going to be using primarily when you're just running around with Synthoceps, is going to give you your darkness energy back for Transcendence. Then when you obviously transcend, you're going to get increased melee regen, and you're going to be able to get all of those melees off, and you just slay out with melees. In terms of fragments though, the only two you need are Blessing and Protection. Maybe you want to use Facet of Justice when you get a final blow with your melee while you're Transcendent. It's going to explode, it's going to provide that AoE damage. Facet of Courage, your strand melees are going to sever, and then your pulse grenade can do some extra damage. And then Facet of Hope just to get your class ability back, just in case you need to get away from anything faster. In terms of class ability, I personally always use Towering Barricade. However, I don't blame people for using Thruster. Thruster's extremely good. It's got a very small cooldown, but I personally always use Towering Barricade. But this build, extremely good for just slaying out in mid to low end content, getting a bunch of melee kills. I haven't tested this in terms of solo flawless, so I don't know how it feels, but I'm sure this would feel very good in a solo flawless setting, to just have invis and melee everything at your discretion. The final build I want to talk about for PvE is Heart of Inmost Light and Star Eaters. So instead of just sticking on HoIL, you can stick on this bond now, as long as you're on Prismatic at least, and you can pair this with Star Eaters, so it just helps in boss damage. This is a very boss damage centric cloak. If you don't have Inmost Light, it's not the bigger deal, but Star Eaters for boss damage, definitely critical, very important. Important note though about Star Eaters is that if you're going to run Thunder Crash for whatever boss you're going to be using Thunder Crash on, can't think of that many off the top of my head, you are better off to actually use Cure-S of the Falling Star, as Cure-S is a 100% damage buff, and I think Star Eaters is only about 60%, so it's definitely better to use Cure-S on Thunder Crash. But other than that, the main super we're going to be using is Twilight Arsenal, just to provide that weaken source. The axes don't matter, it's purely the burst damage at the beginning, that's going to be really good. One thing to note about Twilight Arsenal is it's a bit slow to get in all of the damage, so it's not good in certain encounters that require burst DPS in a very small time frame, such like Atrax or planets in Root of Nightmares. But it is good for range, and if you've got an extended damage phase, it is extremely good. In terms of abilities, I'd definitely go with, to be fair with you, Knockout, Consecration, still a very good combo. I personally use Drenger's Lash just for the extra survivability, just in case I need to suspend anything while I'm raiding. The fragments that we're going to switch out is just Facet of Hope to Facet of Dominance, and we're going to be running a suppression grenade. Now this is very much optional, you can very much use the pulse grenade if you like. That'll apply jolt with facet of dominance. However, a suppressor grenade allows you to provide weaken before you use your super, so that first axe impact damage gets weaken applied to it as well. This helps extend the weaken effect for your teammates as well. So if you don't have a tractor cannon, you can weaken, pop your super, and then these supers will also apply a stack of weaken, so you can just extend the amount of time that your teammates can do good damage for as well. In terms of weapons, it really does depend on what you're doing. I'd definitely recommend expanding Abyss, as void sources deal increased damage to weakened targets, so you apply weaken to a boss, use something like an edge transit with envious and bait and switch, and you just do a lot of damage. It is really that simple. If you pair it with a falling guillotine as well, now I can actually pull mine from the vault. However, I got Frenzy Surrounded, which is the curated role that everybody got if you played Destiny 2 Into the Light, which was the mini expansion that came out before the final shape. However, I know some people are saying bait and switch is better in this final column, because of Surrounded is just very niche to proc. So Frenzy Bait and Switch with Jagged and Swordmasters potentially is the god roll that everyone's looking for. But if you equip this, you can use mods such as Argent Blade, Expanding Abyss, Blade Stamina maybe, and this allows you to do amazing Void Sword damage. So this is really good for Herald of Finality in the new Witness raid, as yeah, it just does incredible damage with the Expanding Abyss mod and Frenzy, and I think Bait and Switch. But that's the final PvE build I wanted to touch with on these Titan marks. Now, if you don't have Star Eaters, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, Star Eaters is just that good. It's kind of hard to offset it with anything else. So if you don't have it, the only advice I can tell you is do some more Dual Destiny and pray that RNG is on your side. The PvP build that I wanted to talk about with this class item is the one I just put in the vault by accident. So let's go through the vault and try and find it, shall we? Is it here? Yes. So this bond is Ophidians and Alpha Lupi. Now, right now, PvP is littered with Kavoshov. I think it's triple the usage of Red Death, and Red Death is like double the usage of the next weapon. The Kavoshov is just insanely popular right now in PvP. I don't actually play PvP on my Titan, but if you were to play PvP on your Titan, I'd definitely recommend, I think Twilight Arsenal still, because Thunder Crash isn't that good for PvP. Towering Barricade, and then I would, in PvP, it's up to you really. You can use something like Shield Throw if you just want to throw your melee at the beginning, or you can use Shiver Strike and just knock targets off maps. It's extremely funny if you can get that to work. In terms of grenade, PvP, pulse grenades, I would say pulse grenades are insane in PvP on Arc Titan. So Prismatic Titan having pulse grenades as well is just insanely good. In terms of fragments for PvP, I would say Unbreakable just helps you block that damage. I've seen some people on Prismatic Titan get some insane kills with Unbreakable. And then in terms of your second aspect, again, probably Knockout, because in PvP you're getting a bunch of melee kills with shotgun melee combos. So probably Unbreakable and Knockout. In terms of fragments, the only one that really matters is Facet of Blessing, as health regen is pretty big. However, if you are using Kavoshov, because most people are, Facet of Grace gives you more Transcendent energy on Kavoshov kills, which is just insane. Kavoshov paired with Facet of Grace gives you Transcendence pretty goddamn fast. Maybe Facet of Dawn if you're using a shield throw, you can just proc Radiant really easily. Other than that, fragments are really up to you. Maybe Facet of Mending even, if you think you're going to be getting grenade kills. But I would definitely recommend Facet of Blessing, and then the other ones are really dealer's choice. I mean, I personally, if I was going to play PvP on my Titan, I'd go Mending. I wouldn't go Dominance, I would go Grace. I'd go, if maybe not Protection. Protection is good though. But it's a tough one really. You could use Facet of Solitude. It severs targets if you hit a bunch of crits, which is pretty good. Or if you use a Glacier Grenade and Facet of Ruin, this pair's really good to get a bigger stasis explosion to do more damage. And yeah, the shatter damage I don't think one-shots targets, but it very much could with Facet of Ruin. Again, I don't play Prismatic Titan for PvP. I'm personally a Hunter player for Trials, at least this weekend. That's what I've been doing. But to summarize the builds for PvE that I'd recommend, Abeyance and Armamentarium, extremely good build for just suspend everything. That uses Shackle Grenade and Drenger's Lash. A good alternative for Abeyance and Armamentarium is Abeyance and Alpha Loopy. As when you put down your barricade, Alpha Loopy will do healing bursts. So this is pretty good in stuff like GMs, as when you need that health, you can just get near a Titan barricade, get that health back, can be clutch, and GMs are coming out next week. So this is all very, or they could be out this week, depending on when this gets uploaded. But yeah, if you don't have Armamentarium, I'd recommend Alpha Loopy. Spirit of the Abeyant, though, is just extremely good. If you don't have Abeyant, maybe in Most Light, I could see HoIL and Armamentarium being extremely good. If you don't have Abeyance on any class items, I know RNG has been just despicable for these bonds. Moving on to the next one with Assassins and Synthoceps. I think these two just pair really nicely together. I don't think there's a good swap out for any of these. Maybe in the first column you get HoIL instead of Assassin, and then you still use Synthoceps. But Synthoceps, you can't really replace it with anything unless you, well, put on Synthoceps or Worm Gods. And in terms of the Star Eater bond, you do need Star Eater, as I said before. The first column perk, I got lucky. I got HoIL. Maybe you want to use. I actually don't know what the alternative is. I really like HoIL and Star Eater. HoIL maybe not needed. Maybe you can go with Abeyance for some ad clear. Maybe Spirit of the Bear if you want to improve Unbreakable, which is this thing. So if you want to improve your Void Shield, if you're using the shield a lot, maybe you want Spirit of the Bear instead of HoIL. I just think HoIL's much better, honestly. But those are the 3 PvE builds and the 1 PvP build that I would recommend. Again, the mods that you use on your armor pieces, very much dependent on what activity you're doing. So I would just use the surges, scavengers, reserves, damage resistance, whatever you're going to use. And remember, heavy-handed or ball-string detonation on your arms and a fastball. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. I don't play a lot of Titan, so I hope I have been of some help when talking about these exotic class items. But yeah, as I say, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys when I record the Hunter video.